Yes. Okay, waiting. Cool, Toby. Can you
Good
hear me?
morning. Good morning, Murray. How are you?
Lovely stuff yourself.
I'm not too bad. I just finished my morning workout. So,
Oh yeah, what a bit of a cycle, bit of a
no, I
run.
did a little rowing.
Oh, nice one. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Good, cool workout, man.
Yeah. I try to do that every morning as a way to kind of wake myself up a little bit.
Big time. Best
Yeah.
way to wake up, bit of exercise.
Once I've taken the dogs out, I usually take a little row, and then that makes me feel like I'm kind of invincible for the day.
Absolutely, man. You get your day off to a good start. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you? It's been a
Ah, good.
while.
Too long. Yeah, I don't know when last we saw each other. Yeah, geez. But yeah,
More than 2 years ago, I think.
hey, I know, no. I just you get a bit confused because you see like your posts on Facebook, and then you go like, wait, when did I actually see Toby?
But I've been following every time you go for a run. I kind of see what
Nice. Yeah. You do a lot of stuff.
Strava or something like that. Yeah.
No, totally. Yeah, we keep in touch virtually.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you very much.
Cool, man.
I was when I saw that you'd written a book about meditation, I was kind of I was surprised and shocked and inspired, all these emotions all at the same time. I was thinking, Murray, I was kind of expecting you to write a book about running,
Yeah.
Where did you get a lot of like surprises when you kind of released the book?
Yeah, I did. I kind of keep my writing quiet, just and even my meditation practice. It's just something I do.
Yeah.
Running is a visible activity. People see that you run. You can't really hide that. But meditation, writing, things you do alone. So it's kind of nobody really. People were surprised. Even some of my best friends back home, like, why didn't you tell me you're writing a book?
I mean, that was the exact emotion that I went through, and I was like, oh, but something that really kind of spoke to me because it's something that I've been trying to kind of get out there. This idea that we are more than just one thing, like Murray is more than just the runner that everybody sees. There are so many hidden factors about you and the little things that you do quietly, but that also give you a lot of purpose, and they drive you, they motivate you, and they make a holistic you, because I kind of feel like a lot of people are like that, So I was like, whoa, let's get a book out. And my wife is into yoga, and I think she was the first person that I was like, Murray just released a book. It's about meditation, like 101 ways. Wow. Very, very surprised. So actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you about two things, about meditation and also about being an author as well. So since I didn't even know that you were actually practicing meditation, what is meditation to you exactly?
Yeah, that's actually a question I like to ask myself. So nice that you asked me, because it's such a fundamental question. And I usually phrase it in a way that, what am I doing when I meditate? Yes. Because if you see someone meditating, they're sitting quietly, their eyes are closed, they all look the same, but what are they doing inside? Yeah. What are they doing in their mind? Because if you think of the mind, it's like a universe that we've got inside us. You could be doing any of an infinite number of things with your thoughts. What are you doing with your thoughts? What are you doing in your heart when with your meditation, your feeling center, And so there's so many different facets to meditation. And every time I ask myself, what is meditation? What do I do when I meditate? I usually come up with a different answer. And I think it's such an important question because it makes me question my practice again. Keep it relevant. I often come up with new angles just by thinking, okay, what am I doing right now? Because otherwise you can become kind of ingrained in a practice, just do the same thing each time. So I like to try and keep my meditation dynamic and moving and evolving. And so it's a great question to ask yourself, I think, as a meditator. But I think, and there are so many different approaches to meditation. Some people chant mantras, some people use positive thinking, so they're actively using their thoughts. Other people try to silence the mind. People meditate with eyes closed, eyes open, walking meditations. But I think if you were really to break it down into two aspects, okay, it's spending time with yourself. So spending time inside yourself, actually. And by inside, what do we mean? Well, in your mind, like I said, the mind is like a universe. Going into your mind, looking at your thoughts, creating inspiring, positive thoughts. And then also spending time in your heart. And of course, the heart is the feeling center of our being. And so working with different feelings, positive feelings, delving into peace. What does peace mean to me? And having the experience of peace. I think for me, meditation, what's really is important is having the experience. It's not just an academic affair. You know, it should be, okay, I'm going to meditate on peace today, so let me experience peace. So it really just, if we think of it as just observing what's happening inside us. So it's really a study of the self. And we could, in meditation, another way we could break it up is also saying that meditation, it's kind of, you can be very, it can be kind of more of a passive, observant activity, where we're just observing the self, but also it can be more active, where we're creating. And if we think of the more passive approach, really just looking within, what am I feeling right now? And sometimes by asking questions like that, just going inside, what am I feeling right now? What that does is brings us into the present, and we kind of go into a listening state. We're into a more receptive state, listening. Okay, what is my internal environment? What's happening there? You know, in life, we're so used to producing and our mind is active, but as soon as we go into a listening state, our mind quietens down and we start feeling calm because our mind isn't so scattered. And inevitably, if I say to me, what am I feeling right now? Something positive will emerge because the mind has calmed down. You'll feel a sense of peace maybe. And then of course, yeah, maybe I feel the peace. And then what happens in meditation? My mind wanders. Bring it back to my center, maybe with another question. So you could, for example, say, okay, what do I feel alongside the peace? What's surfacing alongside the peace? So I'm really just going into my heart and feeling what other qualities are surfacing. And then maybe I feel, there's contentment here. Okay, let me go deeper into that contentment. So having the experience, observing and feeling what is happening inside. And then, of course, there's a more creative, a proactive approach where we create positive thoughts and then go into the experience of that. So I might start by just saying, okay, I'm a being of peace, and really just going into that experience and repeating it if necessary. I'm a being of peace. And it's important when we say that to ourselves, say it with gentleness, say it slowly, but with conviction. So you believe it, I am a being of peace, and then go into that experience. And then if, of course, then the mind wants to wander, follow it up with another statement. So maybe you could say, okay, well, I feel that peace like a gentle fire inside, warming my inner world. And maybe repeat it if necessary. So, and feel that warmth spreading to all corners of my being. So the important thing for me in meditation, when we're doing this creative approach, say the words and then go into the essence of the words, go into the experience. Because as long as we're having experience, we will be focused and we will be inspired by our practice. So very important for me is meditation, having experience. So really, in this sense, meditation, what is it? It's a loving conversation with yourself. Just loving yourself, developing that most important relationship, the one we neglect the most, relationship with myself, getting to know myself through feeling what's happening inside.
See, one of the things that I always I ask myself all the time if I'm actually meditating or if I'm not meditating. So I think this is one of the reasons why I thoroughly enjoy, and I like your definition of spending time with yourself and listening, right? So for example, when I'm actually exercising in the morning, I don't just take that as a physical time. It's also one of the times where I feel I'm I have the most peace in my mind and in my heart. And very often I find a lot of creativity that I need to see happen in my life. It actually started from that time, which is one of the reasons why I've kind of made it a bit of a ritual now. Like if I don't do it, if I don't spend that time, I don't know, I'm mixing it up with exercising because I feel like it's the physical aspect is being done, but whilst it doesn't stop the mental from happening at the same time. But I find that every time when I start my day that way, I really have a really good day. I have a more organized, a more structured, more calm day. And every time when I don't do that, I'm all over the place. So, and so very often I ask myself, well, is that my version of meditation, or is it just something that I've created as part of my daily structure, right? So how long have you been practicing meditation?
I started in my mid-20s, so that's 25 years about. I was like a typical 20-year-old, I was curious, looking for adventure, and I think that curiosity is what sparked my journey to find what meditation is all about. And growing up in Cape Town's a very, I suppose, eclectic city, lots of different cultures and religions and language groups and everything, you name it. And so what I discovered also when I became interested in meditation, there are lots of different little organizations that practice different kinds of meditation. So I took a couple of years just sampling each one. I would go to these different little meditation centers, try and learn as much as I could about meditation. And eventually I found one center that really, with meditation, it's such a personal thing. You need to find a style that works for you. And I found one where they practice something called Raja Yoga. But Raja meaning royal, okay, so your divine self, yoga meaning union. Okay, so this is actually not like your wife's yoga, posture yoga.
Yes.
It's a traditional meaning of yoga, which really just means union. So union with my highest self. And their meditation was really simple. Just look within, connect to my divinity, the belief that we are all divine beings. And how is that divinity reflected? Through our virtues, through our positive qualities, through peace, through love, through happiness. We've all got that blueprint of perfection actually in us. And that perfection is reflected through when we're feeling amazingly peaceful or loving. And so through this group, in Cape Town, I was with him for about 2 years, and then I moved to London. I lived in London for a couple of years and kept meditating with this group, going to the center every day. And I started teaching meditation there at the center.
Oh, nice.
And then from there, and of course, it's an NGO, actually, a spiritual NGO, this organization there. They've got a retreat center in India. So every year I would make my annual meditation retreat to India up in the mountains. So that was beautiful, inspiring, get your practice kind of fired up again at the retreat center, where just for 2 weeks, you would just focus on meditation, be surrounded by like-minded people, all on that same meditative path. And it actually, interestingly enough, took me to a place I know you're very familiar with, to Burundi.
Incredible.
Fascinating. Yeah, actually myself, a brother from Kenya and a brother from India, the three of us set off to Bujumbura to open up a meditation center there.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Yeah. And we arrived with nothing. We were on tourist visas. We quickly arranged a meeting with an estate agent, found a house. So we used that house to live in and to offer free meditation courses. This organization, they don't accept payment for anything. Everything is free. It's just on a voluntary donation basis, which keeps things simple, actually. So we opened the center there. But of course, there's so much admin involved in trying to get because we're an NGO, so we had to register as an NGO. So lots of meetings with uncooperative government officials. What are you doing here? This is a free meditation center. And of course, there's some suspicion like, oh, are you like some dodgy religion, or, what you're trying to do? What sort of tangible services or are you providing? We weren't like Doctors Without Frontiers where healing people. We're just providing free meditation courses, stress-free living courses, self-esteem courses. So that was tough, trying to get an organization going like that in a new country, dealing with government officials, signing contracts for your rental agreement, and but we got it going, and we set up flyers, and we got meditation courses going at the center. I actually used to be fluent in French.
Oh, really?
But this was in 2005. I'm ashamed to say I haven't spoken French since I left Burundi. So my French now is just deteriorated. But it was great because I spoke French. As you know, Burundi was a Belgian colony, so a lot of people speak French.
Yes.
And the Kenyan brother spoke Swahili.
Yes.
So I think Kirundi is the mother tongue, right?
In Burundi, yes, Kirundi is the mother tongue, and of course, some people speak Swahili and French. Yeah. So
So
I
the-
actually grew up speaking all the languages there.
So it was perfect. So we had meditation courses. I would do the French courses. The Kenyan brother would do the Swahili courses, and we seemed to be able to fill in all the gaps for languages. We had no problems with, understanding because of the languages. We did workshops at high schools too. We'd go to high schools there, meet these cool high school students, but not directly meditation courses, more like workshops in self-esteem, building your self-esteem, but of course with the basis of meditation. Again, just looking within, realizing I'm a divine being, and especially with the history of Burundi, there are a lot of people who've been through traumatic events.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like really a moving experience, seeing people who had been through these things, going down to the market, seeing people who were missing legs, and it was really, so it was kind of, it was quite an emotional experience living there. There was actually still a kind of a civil war on the go, so a lot of UN soldiers, so you hear gunfire at night, but that was up in the hills. But I had a great time, but the difficult part was getting the center, dealing with all the admin. The great part was meeting the people, having meditation courses. So that was fantastic. And then I actually moved to Rwanda after that, and we set up a center in Rwanda, just next door. So, and then from there, I moved down to Namibia and ran the center in the capital there in Windhoek, and then back to South Africa. So meditation, man, it's taken me on spiritual journeys, but on physical journeys to places that I probably would never have got to. I probably would never have got to Burundi if it weren't for that. So it was great. Yeah, it's been a good journey.
I'm actually incredibly surprised. I mean, not that I'm surprised per se, because I know the bureaucracy of Burundi, any Central African countries is insane. But I was also wondering, like, how did the people receive meditation? Because I know that when people are struggling on a day-to-day basis, and they're not just struggling on, it's surviving. They're surviving on a day-to-day basis. And the thing that someone in that situation might have in their mind is, what am I going to eat today? How am I going to help my children? How am I going to feed my children or my family? How did you get people to go from trying to cope, trying to fight for survival, into taking part in meditation? Was that a difficult challenge?
Yeah, it was, in a sense, it was quite an ambitious project to open up something as subtle and intangible as a meditation center there. But we were honest from the start. We said, listen, all the teachers there, we volunteers, we don't receive salaries. So we had a limited budget, we didn't have money to offer like, wow, flashy t-shirts to people who came to the center or anything. So we were very honest from the start. We said, listen, we're offering meditation, we're offering a way to just reconnect with your own divinity. And I found Burundi is quite a spiritual, the people are spiritual. They've got a very religious background. So a lot of people, even though if they were from a Christian background, they're still connected. We made it, it's a completely non-religious kind of meditation practice. So in that sense, I think it was well received, that the people were already open to these ideas. Yeah, I know I'm a divine being. Let me explore that more. But yeah, we were honest from the start. Listen, I'm sorry, we don't have money to do handouts. And that's why we struggled with some of the government officials, because their response was, well, what are you giving us? What are you offering?
Exactly. This is something that, because I grew up in Central Africa, because I'd seen and experienced a lot of these things, I have this passion in my heart for the kind of work that you've done, except I've always linked it to an educational element, I think, and I always tell my wife this, I always say to her, like, one of the things that I really want to open up in either Burundi or the Congo is to build a school, an educational facility where, because I had the opportunity to study in England, and I didn't go to a super fancy high school, but the kind of education that I received, I wish every child that is from where I'm from could have even that level of education, because actually it's given me so much more in the world as a result. So, and I've always said, this is something that is so passionate to me that I want to do, but I've always said there's always room during that, in education, to also bring in a spiritual element. So for example, if there is a school where children would also be able to practice maybe meditation as part of their daily thing in school, and my wife being someone who does yoga and into meditation as well. And I always try to wheel her in. I'm trying to like win her in. I'm like, this is something that you can also do in the school. So I'm really passionate about it. I'm really happy that you experienced that. Is there any plans to do something similar like that in the future?
Not at this stage. Here I'm tied up in Korea. I've built up my life here. So at the moment, it's through my writing, hopefully, teaching meditation. I'm not actively teaching meditation at this stage either, but I kind of see my writing as an avenue for teaching. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So the other question that for someone who is trying to, especially someone who has never done meditation before, what would you suggest to them as their starting point?
I think firstly, with meditation, you think you've got to sit down for an hour at a time, intense focus. But the important thing about meditation, it's about quality, not quantity. You can sit down for 5 minutes, and just by telling yourself, okay, I'm just sitting down for 5 minutes, no pressure. Okay, the chances are you'll probably have a deeper experience than if you say, I've got to sit down for half an hour now. Oh, I'm going to get bored. What am I going to do? You start feeling tension already. Just focus, try and focus even for 1 minute. In 1 minute, you can have an experience. In fact, in a second, you can have an experience. It's just what you're doing with your mind. So firstly, quality, shorten your practice, try and make it focused, but also consistency, of course. 5 minutes a day is better than 1 hour a week, just like anything in life, whether it be with running or doing yoga, a little bit every day. What you're actually doing then is, as soon as you sit down, you remember yesterday, you're reminded of those pathways leading inwards to your heart. If you do it regularly, you build a habit. Do something regularly. Okay, I experience a little bit of peace. Peace becomes a habit. It becomes easier to slip within. So meditation is very much about building those positive habits. But also, Toby, what is your experience? If people say, I'm struggling with meditation, what's usually the reason they cite for struggling with meditation?
They from what I've gathered, some people might say like they can't stay still, or their mind keeps on wandering somewhere else. Or another thing that's very common is that if I close my eyes for too long, I'm gonna fall asleep.
True. But that is the most common reason, that my mind wanders. I can't stay focused. Why? Because what is the function of our mind? It's a factory that produces thoughts. So just thinking, okay, I'm going to try and silence my mind is actually probably unreasonable. So what we're doing with the mind, still have thoughts, but slow down those thoughts. Focus on those thoughts. Take one thought at a time. Say it slowly to yourself. Say it patiently. And don't rush through it. And repeat it if necessary. But again, like I said earlier, say it with conviction. I am a being of peace. So you're still thinking. You're keeping your mind active. And then if your mind wants to wander, do a follow-up thought. Okay, what is a being of peace feels like? If I were to experience perfect peace right now, what would I feel like? Then you go automatically. It's like when you ask a question, our whole being goes in search for the answer. So then immediately you go within, okay, what does it feel? What is this feeling like? If perfect peace, what does it feel like? The chances are you'll feel a glimmer of perfect peace inside, because your psyche wants to answer the question, what does perfect peace feel like? So just move on to the next step. Prompt yourself with questions. Questions are such a good way to keep yourself focused in the present.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So the challenge is also, I think people with meditation, they become bored. Like you said, you're sitting down, maybe you become bored, you become sleepy. The chances are, if you become bored in meditation, you're not having an experience. As soon as you have an experience of peace or love or happiness, you're going to be engaged, you're going to be interested, you're going to want to meditate tomorrow because yesterday's peace felt so great. So just, again, have the thought, then go into the essence of what's contained in that thought. My heart is filled with love. What does that feel like? Have the experience of love. We live lives outside ourselves. So seldom do we actually look into our hearts and allow those qualities to emerge. But we've got all these qualities in us. That's a fact. And I think there's a list of something like 50 different virtues: peace, power, purity, love, stability. We've experienced all of those at some point in our lives. But usually they're triggered by outside events. You know, if like purity is an interesting one. We don't often focus, what is purity, you know? But if you go for a swim in the ocean and you come out and you feel like fresh and clean,
Yes.
I'm feeling so pure, you know? So
Yes.
that's a feeling of purity. And where's that feeling coming from? Not from the ocean, it's coming from your heart. But the fact is the ocean triggered it. We're triggered by outside situations, outside events. So in meditation, we're taking back the power and going, no, I'm going to create that catalyst, that trigger, by saying, in my heart, I feel an ocean of purity. I let that water spread out and clean me from within. So then we actually taking back control, becoming the masters of our own feelings, our own emotions, instead of waiting for the outside world to give us these cool triggers that okay, that sparked of peace, that sparked of happiness. We creating those sparks in our hearts, in our minds. And the thing is, if you think of the mind is like a big laboratory. We can create whatever we want. We can go into our mind, we can create sadness, we can create happiness, we can create excitement just through what we're thinking. So in meditation, imagining your mind like a big laboratory, dropping in beautiful thoughts. Thoughts are energy, they will take us to that place. If I'm thinking of peace, we will go there, but we need to focus a little bit on it. So meditation requires a bit of focus. With practice, our focus sharpens. So
I love that.
Consistency.
So you've just dropped so many things there. Like you've just so many. Like one of the things that I'm taking away from what you're saying is be consistent if you're practicing something, you know. And the other thing is about, you know, when I'm listening to you, I'm actually hearing myself on moments and key areas where I've looked for outside affirmation for the things that are already within. Right. And then I'm always thinking that maybe peace might be something that someone is going to give me peace. But whereas peace is already inside me, all I just have to do is to tap into that, you know. And if I stay focused for a moment, I could create peace from within rather than having to always look from the outside, trying to get peace to come within me. You know, like these little things are so powerful. I love them. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
And the thing is, we need to practice it to realize that it's true.
Yes.
You know, it's all, if you just think of this in terms of academics, that sounds logical, but practice it. Think of meditation as a light that you're shining within. And peace is there in our heart. It's just a little bit in the dark. So by sending our light into that little peaceful spot, we open up the peace, we let it flow, and we can bring it into our lives. And of course, meditation isn't just about being peaceful when I'm sitting here quietly alone, but bringing it out into my actions. So the more I through meditation deepen those pathways towards that peaceful place, the easier it is when I'm talking to you, for example. Okay, I'm not feeling so peaceful now. Let me just quickly slip within in a second. That's all it takes. Okay, there I know the pathway to peace. Okay, I've got it. Okay, now I'm feeling peaceful while I talk to Toby. Okay, that's better. You know, so we're developing, again, habits and pathways towards those beautiful places in our hearts.
That's nice. That's beautiful. So all of this experience of meditation has taken you to a whole different journey where you've decided to write a book, right? And hold on a second. I actually want to share it here because I think, where is it? Here we go. So modern meditations, 101 ways to slow down and connect to spirit. So officially, this is your first book?
Yeah. Well, first published book.
So how many books have you written before this that have not been published?
I've written a fiction novel, which I don't think will ever see the light of day. I wrote that in my 20s. It was, But anyway, fiction and non-fiction, different worlds, man. But it was fun writing.
Yeah. So what led you, first of all, to write this book? What was the idea behind it?
I started writing only at university, and then I got into first poetry. Poetry is a great way to practice the skill because you can use your imagination. You can be as creative as you want. That led into fiction. Fiction was fun because you automatically see yourself reflected in the characters. You see your friends reflected in the characters. But then when I started meditating, I lost interest in writing fiction. I kind of thought it's not really relevant to my life. You know, fiction is all about, there has to be tension, you know, and I wanted to live a life of peace. Now suddenly, so you know, of course, with fiction, there's a lot of angst and all sorts of things. Anyway, so I stopped writing for a long time. And after I'd been meditating for about 20 years, so this was 5 years ago, I thought, hey, hang on a moment. What if I were to write a very practical, easy to follow guidebook on meditation, really just to help people, first of all, who've never meditated, know nothing about it. So my idea with the book was anybody, regardless of their spiritual background, their experience with meditation, is they can just open up a page and within 5 minutes, they can go into a deep experience just by following the words. So what the book is, it's 101 ways to slow down and connect to spirit. So there are 101 different meditations divided into 12 topics. Okay, so the 12 chapters, each chapter has about 10 meditations in. So for example, there's a chapter on abundance, and then different meditations under abundance. So like, for example, one meditation would be focused on reawakening the inner child, which we all have inside us, that excited, passionate, fun-loving being inside us. And as soon as we step into that experience, wow, I'm a child again, we experience abundance. Chapters also on healing, on grounding, on transformation. So the idea with the book was that anybody can really just pick up the book, decide, okay, what I want an experience on grounding, go to that chapter and then find a meditation that feels right for them at the time. So really just very easy to, they're basically they're meditation commentaries. Each commentary, they're quite long, some of them up to 2 pages. The book's about 300 pages, so they're 100 meditations. Just a brief explanation before each meditation, explaining what this is about. But then the meditation commentary, by following the commentary, it's taking you on a journey. But the idea, of course, with the meditation commentaries is it's not like a normal book that you rush through a page. How quickly can I finish this book? Just read each commentary slowly, sentence by sentence. Let the experience happen with each sentence, then move on to the next sentence. So it's, I just suddenly had this thought here. When I was starting meditation, I would have loved to just have a book that I could just open and go, meditation isn't as complicated. You know, we think meditation, oh, it's a big study. What do I do? But really, this whole book is just about having different loving conversations with yourself and showing that experience, that meditation can be as creative as you wish. You can create whatever experience you want. It doesn't need to be limited to just one practice or one train of thought. Like laboratory of the mind, you can do what you want. So the idea was with this book just to make a very practical, experiential guide for anyone.
Which I think is very, very important, because I think a lot of the things that, you know, one of the reasons why I started doing this project is because of at least from what I was noticed for myself, people around me, we all lacked practical experiences and from me, even now, doing is teaching me way so much more than just, you know, reading about something. Once I started doing, I'm actually developing the skills to be able to do more and more and more. And then confidence actually starts to build from there, because I realized that, oh, I didn't die when I tried that, and oh, that failed, but I'm still here. I now know how to do it better the next time, you know? So in a selfish way, for me, this book is already out, right? It's already been published. Hard copies only? Is it also on audio?
Not on audio, but just ebooks and the actual physical book, yeah, but not audio. Basically what the publishers said, you know, because it would be so good, a meditation book should also have an audio version, but they said first just gauging by the success of the book, and then they will decide whether they're going to make an audio version or not.
Yeah. Because one of the things that I've recently learned, especially about myself, is how I consume information, is how I learn. And I realized that not only my wife learns by reading. Like I sent her I'm actually going to try to get the book to her as well. And she learns so much more and faster by reading, whereas I'm the opposite. I listen way more than I spend reading. And I think that's partly because I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was younger, so
Mm.
I immediately knew my my strength and where I was weak, and so I just going immediately for that audio. So where can people find this book?
On all the websites, yeah, wherever, even on the Korean websites, Kyobo, Amazon, whatever, or pretty much even South African websites. I was surprised. The bookstores there, online.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so yeah, wherever you buy books, you can find it. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about like the writing skill itself, right? Is this, I know you said you've been writing for some time now. It's one of those things that you've done behind the scene that nobody really sees. But do you think this is kind of a skill that has come naturally to you, or is it something that you've had to practice for a long time on it?
I think it feels like it comes naturally to me when I do it regularly. When I started meditation and I took a break from writing, I thought, oh, I'll probably never get back into writing because you haven't flexed that muscle for so long. But again, just like meditation, doing a little bit every day, that muscle that kind of gets going and it becomes easier. You know, and they talk about flow states.
Yeah.
Nothing better than when you're writing and you just feel like the words just flowing onto the page. And what is a flow state? It's really just when things feel effortless, when they feel natural, when you're enjoying what you're doing. And of course, we can do that with running, with cycling. You get into a flow state, you feel this is just easy. So again, with writing, I won't necessarily say it came naturally to me, but when I'm writing, well, then it feels like, oh, this is natural. This is what I should be doing. So
and
yeah.
no writers, what do they call it? Like writer's
block.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't, you know, like I said, I try and write, especially when I'm inspired. When am I inspired? When I'm feeling energetic. So I think it's important to know your kind of limitations too. Like in the evenings, I'm mentally unproductive. I can clean the house, I can do whatever, but in the mornings, that's my productive time. So I think it's important to know where your energy levels when they peak. So I write in the morning. I like to write after exercise when I'm energized. And I think, but again, with writing, sometimes you've just got to sit down and do it. And I've heard this advice often, you know, oh, you feel like, oh, I don't know what to write. Just start the process. You know, the most difficult thing with anything in life is overcoming inertia, getting out the door. You want to go for a run? That's the hardest part, putting on your shoes and getting out the door. Just start the process. Chances are the flow will come later. But, you know, just you've got to get over that initial block of just getting out the door.
I remember someone, I don't know where I heard this from, but like I must have been watching or listening to a podcast where someone said, you have 5 seconds when you decide to do something where your mind will convince you, your body will convince you otherwise, right? So you have 5 seconds, you want to do this, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you don't stand up and get active within that 5 seconds, your body really doesn't want to do any of these things. It goes into a very combative mode, right? So it's very, very interesting because I actually experience those almost on a day-to-day, absolutely daily. I never feel like doing a lot of the things that I end up doing, but once I started doing them, oh, I feel so good. I was saying to someone not so long ago that they said to me, oh, you wake up every day and you do your rowing? And I said, yeah. And I said, actually, out of the 5-6 days a week that I do rowing, maybe 1 or 2 days where I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I really want to do it. But every other day, I always feel better after I've done it. You know? So the practical element, and I really like that you've written a very practical book, and I really like that you've given a lot of tips on how people can practically take the steps to actually meditate as well. Did you experience any challenges writing the book?
I think the actual writing, of course, it's a series of different meditation experiences. So what I did was I experimented with different, okay, let me meditate on swimming in an ocean. So I have the experience and then come out of the experience and then quickly try and jot down the journey that took me there, you know? So that was fun. That was a creative part. But then once I've written the whole book, that whole editing process, that's always a bit laborious, less creative, more just kind of sticking to it, man, trying to make the sentences flow into each other, tightening it up. That's always a bit painful, and that's a longer process than the writing process. You know, getting the initial thing out, you're inspired, wow, new thoughts, you're creative. That's great. The editing is a bit laborious.
Did you do all the editing yourself?
Yeah. Of course, with the publishers, it's quite a process with the publishers. You send them initially you send them a query letter, which is just introducing yourself and your book, you know, that you want to present to them, you want to submit. And if you send them the first few chapters, then if they're interested, well, I actually connected with a US publisher that focuses on mind, body, spirit. And then they come back, and they came back to me fortunate. Yeah, we're interested in this. Send us the rest of the book. And then they present that book to their board. And then they said, okay, go ahead, here's your contract, negotiate the contract. But then they say, okay, then they gave me an extra 3 months just to tighten it up myself, tighten it up all the, you know, the writing. And but there weren't many, you know, obviously they have their editors, so they make suggestions. For example, one suggestion was, all my titles of each meditation, I made them very poetic. You know, I wanted them, you know, title is important. Made it poetic. And they said, no. Make it practical, make it descriptive, so that people pick up the book, they go, this is the meditation that I can get into. Right. That was a great suggestion. So I had to change all the titles, for example. But other than that, they were happy with my, after they gave me 3 months just to do my own work on it, submitted it, and they were happy. Just a few minor things, you know, whether they're typos or they feel like maybe you should add a few more paragraphs into your meditations, or But so the editing process I did myself, yeah.
So that means that if I understand correctly, if you were experimenting with a meditation practice first, so you did 101 different experiments.
Well,
you possibly more.
This is over a 20-year period, so I kind of revisited. You know, when you have an experience, you go, that was like transformation. I remember visualizing like a gate in a field, and just the idea that I can see through the gate, and on the other side of the gate there's these unlimited pastures laden with potential. As I move through the gate, I'm going to move into the fresh me, the new me, you know. And then I remember, that was a cool experience. Let me meditate on it again and write down that journey. So it was, I mean, I kind of feel like every time you meditate, you have a slightly different experience, depending on what thought, especially if you're using meditation in the way I do, through creating positive thoughts and taking yourself on a journey. So 101 is maybe a drop in the ocean. but anyway, it was fun. I enjoyed the creative process of getting that down on paper. Yeah.
How did you go about finding a publisher? Because I think, and the reason why I kind of like that question is because I'd imagine someone out there also trying to, they've written something, they're looking for ways to go about finding a publisher, but they're struggling. What suggestions or advice would you give them?
Okay, the first step is write your manuscript, get it done. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be presentable. Because the publishers don't like it if they're interested and you say, oh, sorry, but I'm actually, I'm not finished it yet. The publishers have got thousands of books waiting in line. You're up against a lot of competition. But first of all, find a publisher that matches that is a good fit for your book. Even fiction publishers, they only publish certain genres, only for specific target audiences. So find a perfect match. Find if they're accepting submissions. A lot of publishers don't accept unsolicited submissions, which means you've got to work through a literary agent first, and then they represent you. So first of all, of course, do your research. So for me, I was looking for kind of mind, body, spirit publishers. Write a good query letter, okay, which is really just introducing yourself, why you feel you're a good author, and a summary of your work, and then look at their guidelines, submit a few chapters. But it's I guess it's timing too, if you're lucky with timing, because for example, from this moment, this publisher, they were interested in my book to the day it was published was almost a year. Okay, there's obviously a lot of back and forth. They say, okay, go back, do another edit. Here's the book cover. Are you happy with it? Here's your contract. Let's negotiate the contract. But not only that, the fact is they've got a schedule. They've got, okay, this is our line of books coming out in autumn. Sorry, already full, okay? Spring, already full. We can schedule you for summer. It's not like that. Oh, this is a good book. Let's publish it next month. They've already got their schedule lined up. You know, they only publish this amount of books. They only publish maybe one book on meditation, one book on tarot cards, whatever. You know, they're very kind of functional, and they go according to their plans. So you can't kind of skip. Like I say, timing is good too, if your timing is good. But do your research.
It's a labor of love for sure.
Yeah.
From the first day of writing to publishing, how long was that?
I probably started this book about 5 years ago, but it came in stages. You know, sometimes I'd feel inspired, write for a couple of months, and then take a break. It's just funny how with writing, if you know how it is, you get caught up in other things, and you just But so it was probably probably 4 or 5 years it took me to write the book from start to end.
That's good. You know, especially in the world of today, where we expect a lot of instant, you know, gratification, instant results. That to actually have someone who has gone through a process and to say, hey, it's taken me 5 years, and I'm sure some people will take them longer. You know, and then some people, it might take them shorter, but to just have that at the back of our minds that this is not necessarily going to be a 6 months thing. It might take us a little bit of a while to get there, which is really good, man. I really like that. I like that. Patience with your work. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, when it's your work, you want to do it as good as possible. So you become a little bit meticulous with the editing, and you spend more time than you should. And eventually, fortunately, you've got a deadline with the publisher, and they say by this date, send it. Okay, so once you sent it, that's it. You know, maybe I guess with, for example, songwriters, they write a song and they always think, how could have I done it better? But at the end of the day, you got to say, okay, up to here, that's it. There it is.
But that's it. Sometimes a little bit of feedback helps. Once you do the first thing, you get a lot of feedback, which I'm sure then can actually help you and guide you towards your next thing. Which begs me, are you going to write another book? Is that something that you've thought about?
I'm actually working on two projects at the moment. Nice. Like I say, when you've got your writing muscle flexed, keep going. Hey, don't stop. So I'm really interested in the concept of pilgrimage, going on pilgrimage walks. And what is a pilgrimage? It's really just a long distance journey that you take to find meaning, to find depth, to improve your life in whatever way. And so I've been to Spain and Portugal many times. The Camino. I've done the Camino 4 or 5 times, and it can just be a trekking, a long distance trek. But this book I'm writing is what is a pilgrimage. So how to help people that going just maybe a trek, how to make it more meaningful, things that they can reflect on while they walk, to bring more depth to their walk and make it more of a pilgrimage. So not religious.
Have you done the pilgrimage in Spain? I think it's in Santiago de Compostela.
I think I've done it 4 times. I pretty much. I love a man. I tell you. Have you done it, Toby?
No, I was there, but I wasn't there long enough to do the actual pilgrimage. But I was there and I saw people. I met a lot of people that were doing it, and I was just. I think this was my first experience to meet people who were on a pilgrimage, and to talk to them and to see just how excited they were for this long walk. And I've never conceptualized it, and to actually see it in practical, like to actually see people doing it practically, I was like, that's quite good. It's quite inspiring. Yeah.
But Toby, you would love it. You love exercise.
I think I would. This is why it resonated and it stayed with me. I don't know, when was I there? I was there maybe about 6-7 years ago, and it stayed with me. I was like, if I ever want to do any long walks, I will do it in Spain. I will do it there.
I reckon you check all the boxes. You're outgoing. You like meeting people. You love nature. I'm sure you know.
I love it.
Like it's just one big adventure. But you're meeting interesting people every night. You stay in a different pilgrim's hostel. Each one has such a different flavor to them. But then also, like I said, it can be a pilgrimage too, where you actually you have so much time just to think. We don't have that time in our usual lives. But there, you're separate. All you have is your backpack. All you have to do is you walk the whole day, you eat, and you you sleep and you meet people. It gives a lot of time for reflection and working on different things, and all sorts of things surface that wouldn't normally surface because we don't have that unlimited time like that usually in our lives. So yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, come on. When the world gets all, it goes back to being functional, it's something that I will definitely consider for sure. So this book that you've written, thank you for sharing it to us. In just a few words, what would you like the readers to take away from your book?
I think the idea that meditation isn't a complicated process. All it is, or all it can be, is just a loving conversation with yourself by being particular about what we put in our minds, what thoughts we put there. Just remembering that thoughts are energy and they create an impact on us. So by thinking positively, by focusing on those positive thoughts, we can create the reality we want. We can, when we're feeling beautiful inside, the world becomes beautiful. So really just spending more time inside ourselves and then bringing that positive energy into our worlds. So, you know, we all need more peace and love and happiness inside our hearts, but also in the world. So I think the more people who get into at least some sort of reflective process where they're looking within and they're rekindling that peace that is there already, the better our world will be. So just inspire people. Thinking is powerful. Use your thoughts. Don't waste them. We waste them.
I agree. I'm on that journey right now. This is all a journey that I'm taking about, you know, thinking about inspiring myself, but also inspiring the people that are around me, especially the people that are, you know, they have something in their heart that they've been wanting to do, and perhaps realizing that doing these little things that, you know, being more than just what your job is. And, you know, you could be a baker out there and you work as an engineer somewhere, but when you do your baking, you're in that element, you are at your purest. The joy that you get out of it is so good. And I'm trying to, like, you know, speak more to that, speak more to you're more than just that one thing, and start investing time, start spending time doing the thing that you love the most, and you will definitely see pay back in abundance, you know. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking your time.
No, Toby, thanks, man. When I heard you starting a podcast, I was so impressed. Like, I love seeing when new podcasts pop up that are about self-development and promoting a more positive outlook in life. And it seems to me that's the direction you're taking with this podcast. So no, it's cool, man. I'm looking forward to hearing some inspiring stories from different people.
Yeah.
No, good luck with it. I think man, you're on the right trip. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Yes. Actually, the last question I wanted to ask you was, how do I say is it Marais du Plessis?
Okay, actually du Plessis, because it's a French.
Okay. I've been toying around in my head. I'm like, is this a Dutch name? Is this the name? Du Plessis. Very nice.
Ancestors were from France. Not me.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Toby, nice chatting to you. Let's meet at the next marathon, man. Get running.
Oh, actually, I've not run in a very long time.
Before we end, Toby, I'll tell you I think my first memory of you. You know what it is?
What is it?
Maybe it was the first time we met. I'm not sure. The Busan Marathon I think it was a Nakdong River on a hot summer's day. You did the half marathon.
Yeah.
And you came in at the finishing line sweating and looking pale. And like you had a hard run, man, and you were out of it. And like I just remember, wow, Toby, man, congratulations for finishing a half marathon in this heat, man, because you really pushed yourself and you were finished.
I've never pushed myself harder than when I was running. And it wasn't something that came naturally to me. And it was something that it was Patrick Kavanagh who really got all of us involved in running. And I got to the point where, like, I was running maybe 30 or 40 kilometers every week. And it became a thing that I was in my element. When I'm running, it's when I was thinking clearly. When I'm running is when I feel like everything suddenly makes sense. And then I thought, why not do some of these races and enjoy them in the process? But that Busan one, I did maybe 3 races in Busan, and 2 of them, I did 2 back-to-back week. Like one, I went up to Seoul and I did the DMZ half marathon. And then the weekend after I was done in Busan and I did
Within summer, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That
and then in
would be the one I saw you.
between the week, I decided to do maybe a couple of like 10K, 12-kilometer runs just to keep the muscles going. You learn so much about your body when you run.
True. Yeah.
I learned so much about my body, and I thought, yeah, when I run, when I exercise, it's a puddle. I sweat.
No, okay.
Yeah, I sweat in the summer. So, yeah, thank you so much, Murray.
Okay, great, Toby. Thanks so much for inviting me. Great chatting again. Let's catch up again sometime, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much.
See you, man.
Bye-bye.